Welcome to the Casting Couch, the show that gives South Florida's hidden talent a little bit of exposure. I'm your host, Alicia Brooks, and on today's show, we will have one of South Florida's very own premier author, Dr. Marvin Dunn, author of Black Miami in the 20th Century. You guys do not want to miss this show, so please stay tuned.
It's a soul flow thing. Shot in beautiful Miami, the Casting Couch is the perfect backdrop. The Casting Couch is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. What makes the Casting Couch unique is that it's totally interactive. Social media driven. Tweet us and like us on Facebook at Casting Couch TV. You can also watch past and current episodes by logging on to thecastingcouchtv.com. Casting Couch TV, uncovering South Florida's hidden talent. In 2004, the Casting Couch was introduced as a live Sunday night event that showcased national and international talent. Although the show was geared towards individuals establishing a performing arts community, Casting Couch has evolved to be a show about hidden talent in South Florida. In 2012, the idea of the Casting Couch was revisited with vigor. Slightly tweaked, the Casting Couch TV show focused primarily on the entertainment industry as it pertained to South Florida. Shot in beautiful Miami, this show is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. Although the main premise is focused on entertainment, the show will discuss social issues that affect Miami society.
Welcome back. My first guest is a Florida historian, legend, and an intricate part of Miami's landscape. As resident scholar of the Institute of Homeless Studies at Camillus House, Dr. Dunn began his career as a naval officer, serving from 1961 to 1967. He served as an officer aboard the aircraft carriers U.S.S Kitty Hawk and also U.S.S Saratoga, and was commander of the 14th Battalion, U.S. Naval Recruit Training Command in Great Lake, Illinois. Here to discuss his latest book, The Beast in Florida, History of Anti-Black Violence. Please help me welcome author Dr. Marvin Dunn to the couch. Welcome, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you for asking. So, tell us about yourself.
Well, my family moved to Miami in 1951 when I was 11.
Okay.
We moved into Overtown,
Yes.
And then a year or so later moved up to North Dade County to Opelika. And I attended schools, segregated schools in Miami, left and went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, and then from there to the Navy, and then from there to graduate school in Tennessee, where I got a doctorate in psychology. And then I came back home, and I worked at FIU, Florida International University, for 34 years.
Wow.
And I retired as psychology department chairperson about 5 years ago and got my life back.
Okay, wow. So now tell me, I mean, what was it like going from having to be in a segregated school and then coming back and then teaching at a college where now it's more combined.
A lot of people don't realize that the Dade County public schools were rigidly segregated in the 1950s and even into the 1960s. And there was a lot of resistance to integration in South Florida. There was a very active civil rights movement in South Florida to force these changes. Yeah. So as a kid in the 50s in Miami, I was a good student, so they sort of used me as a conduit to go to white schools and collect used books and used science equipment to bring back to our school, the black schools. So it was a very, very oppressive educational environment. Yeah. The first public high school for blacks in Dade County, Booker T. Washington Senior High School, didn't even open until 1927. So up until 1927, if you were a black person, a black child in Miami, in Dade County, you could only go to the 8th grade. And after that, you would either, if your parents were from the Bahamas, you'd go back to the Bahamas or to North Florida to Bethune-Cookman or Everett Waters College to finish high school. So that racist, segregated history of Miami-Dade County is forgotten now by a lot of folks, but it was a very rigid system at that time.
Yes. And now your book, The Beast in Florida, A History of Anti-Black Violence. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, that book was 10 years in the making. I went to every place in Florida that had a major racial incident, lynchings primarily, from Rosewood to Ocoee to a lynching in Homestead in the 1930s, 3 people, including a woman, to Central Florida, where there were many, many, many incidents, and recorded these terrible, terrible events and documented through talking to descendants of victims, talking to descendants of perpetrators, lynchers, whose grandchildren talked to me, so that I could put together a series of stories that told this terrible history for this current generation of Floridians in particular. And among these stories, the most devastating one to me was the lynching of a 15-year-old black boy in 1944 in Live Oak, Florida, Willie James Howard. The kid wrote a love letter to a white girl, and her dad found the letter, got 2 friends, went to this boy's house, took him from his mother at gunpoint, tied his hands and feet together, went to where his dad worked, a lumber company, forced him into the car with this boy and these other 2 men, went to the Swanee River, made the boy get out. This girl's father put a pistol to the boy's head and told him, "Jump or I'll give you what's in this gun." So the boy jumped and drowned. And then the sheriff ordered the body retrieved immediately, buried immediately, no autopsy, no marked grave. And that was the case with Willie James for almost 60 years. Now, a lot of people know the story of Emmett Till, a black youngster in Mississippi. But what happened to Willie James Howard in Live Oak, Florida in 1944 happened almost a decade before Emmett Till. And nary a voice raised about it, no publicity about it. The kid was just killed and buried and forgotten. So these are stories that I think people should know.
Yes, definitely.
So we spent this effort to bring these stories to life, and I made a movie about Willie James.
Really?
As well as a movie about Rosewood. I spent a lot of time in Rosewood, Florida. People tend to know Rosewood a little bit more because of the movie and all of that. But I purchased land in Rosewood, and there are no black people in Rosewood today. So I bought 5 acres of land in Rosewood, got a white guy to front, because the white folks out there are still very funny about black people being out there. And once I purchased land, I was able to make some connections with my neighbors, and I got invited to their properties to start digging for artifacts from this terrible tragedy of 1923, when the town was just leveled by a white mob that raged through Rosewood for 4 days. So these are the kinds of stories I've tried to document in this book. And it took a great deal of objectivity to write these stories. Definitely. And also not get really, really mad.
How long has it taken you to collect everything for this book and your other books?
Well, I started bringing artifacts out of Rosewood about 10 years ago.
Okay.
When Rosewood was burned down and all the black people left, the only thing that survived was a half-burned child's doll. We had no other physical evidence of Rosewood. So I got a state grant, actually 3 years of funding from the state, to start digging. And it's just amazing. Can you imagine if you had to run out of your house at 3 o'clock in the morning in the wintertime with nothing but the clothes on your back, and your house was just left?
Yeah.
And we found these houses that had been abandoned like that, with the most precious objects you can imagine, personal things, jewelry, children's toys, a pair of eyeglasses, woman's sort of granny-type eyeglasses, cooking utensils. We even found chalk from the school that the kids attended in Rosewood. So those artifacts are now all at FIU. We're still bringing more material out of Rosewood, and we're traveling an exhibit of Rosewood artifacts around the state so that people can touch that history directly.
Now there's one more thing that I would really love to discuss with you, and that is a project that you happen to start in Overtown. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, if we could discuss that.
Sure.
Great. You guys stay tuned, we will be right back.
It's a soul flow thing. Shot in beautiful Miami, the casting couch is the perfect backdrop. The casting couch is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. What makes the casting couch unique is that it's totally interactive. Social media driven. Tweet us and like us on Facebook at Casting Couch TV. You can also watch past and current episodes by logging on to thecastingcouchtv.com. Casting Couch TV, uncovering South Florida's hidden talent. In 2004, the Casting Couch was introduced as a live Sunday night event that showcased national and international talent. Although the show was geared towards individuals establishing a performing arts community, Casting Couch has evolved to be a show about hidden talent in South Florida. In 2012, the idea of the Casting Couch was revisited with vigor. Slightly tweaked, the Casting Couch TV show focused primarily on the entertainment industry as it pertained to South Florida. Shot in beautiful Miami, this show is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. Although the main premise is focused on entertainment, the show will discuss social issues that affect Miami society.
Welcome back to the Casting Couch. We are here in the beautiful Gallery Blue in Liberty City. Please remember to follow us on Twitter at The Casting Couch, and also like our fan page, The Casting Couch, on Facebook. And we are still here with Dr. Marvin Dunn. Now, Dr. Dunn, before we left for break, we were discussing how this project that you started in Overtown, that I think is such an amazing project because a lot of people don't realize the history in Overtown. And, you know, they just look at Overtown today and they don't remember Overtown for what it was. And you started this project called the Overtown Gardens. And can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I decided that my students at FIU needed to give something back to the community. So about 15 years ago, I started bringing them to Overtown to do community service work, mainly beautification of vacant lots. And Overtown has a lot of vacant lots. And one day I had about 30, 40 students out there working, most of them Hispanic and white students, very few black students. And there were a group of black men across the street drinking beer about 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of them yelled out, "Why don't you plant something we can eat?" Which I thought was not a bad idea. So we started putting in vegetable gardens about 3 or 4 years ago, raising fresh produce and giving most of it away. And through the effort of some grants we got from the Community Redevelopment Agency and other places, we have been able to hire people from the neighborhood to tend these gardens. Most of them are located between 2nd and 3rd Avenue and 9th and 10th Streets in Overtown. So we've converted these vacant lots that were being used to shoot up drugs and dump trash into productive gardens. The organization was called Roots in the City, which is being retired. And my daughter, Asha Loring, is starting a new nonprofit called Health in the Hood, healthinthehood.org. And a lot of the work that we have been doing is being taken over by this new organization. But essentially, we're making fresh produce available to folks who have a lot of trouble buying it in the regular food markets.
Now, if somebody wanted to get involved and participate in that, how can they? Is there a way they can go about that?
Yes, healthinthehood.org is taking over a lot of the work that we were doing. My daughter is heading that. Her name is Asha Loring. And volunteers simply have to call up that page, and you'll see information as to how you can get involved. We need volunteers. A lot of the work we do depends upon volunteers.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. That's amazing. Now, while we're on the subject of Overtown, I want to take a little bit, go backwards a little bit to a previous book of yours, which is Black Miami in the 20th Century.
Yes.
Now, can you discuss that book with us a little bit?
Yeah. I started with the arrival of the first blacks in South Florida who were pirates back in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
There was a notorious black pirate called Black Caesar who roamed along what's now the area of Vizcaya in Coconut Grove. They had a hideaway there. His whole crew was black. They were very successful. I tell this story in elementary schools, and the kids want to know more about Black Caesar. They want to know more about the pirates than they want to know about the civil rights leaders. But the book goes back that far because people don't realize that there were black people here before English-speaking white folks, 200 years before English-speaking white people arrived in South Florida.
Yeah.
So we go from that era to the arrival of Bahamians into Coconut Grove in the 1870s, 1880s, and then the arrival of African Americans mainly from Georgia and South Carolina into what's now Overtown in the late 1890s. So Overtown goes back to 1896 when the city was founded. Most blacks had to move into the northwest quadrant of the new city, but required by the railroad, actually. The Flagler Railroad required this. So we have this segregated black community evolving from the 1890s into what we now know as Overtown. And at one point between the 1920s, 30s, 40s, this was the cultural center of Black Miami. Athletes, movie stars, singers, all came to Overtown. My dad came here in 1938 for the first time, said that anything you could buy in Harlem, you could buy on 2nd Avenue in Colored Town.
Jazz was huge in Overtown.
Exactly. But by the 1960s, Overtown started its downhill slide. The expressway came through, split the community in half. People who were black could move out of Overtown because of integration in the 1960s. So you had left a very impoverished community, mainly of single families, single family, parent families, senior citizens, and then the homeless folks started moving in, and the drug addicts started moving in. So we wanted, with our efforts with the gardens, to try to push some of that back a little bit and make the community a little bit more beautiful.
When most people think of Miami, they think of But what many people don't know is the influence that blacks had on Miami.
There was a very powerful, very active Underground Railroad for slaves coming into Florida to escape slavery, and many of those ended up going to the Bahamas.
I remember some years ago finding a document in the Bahamian newspapers about the Bahamians coming over and rescuing the Seminoles off of Virginia Key in Key Biscayne. And that was a very common practice. And there are even some places in the Bahamas that were peopled by these runaway slaves from the United States.
The first ferrying of black escaped slaves we know of from Georgia primarily to the Bahamas to freedom happened with these Bahamian fishermen encountering these people right here on these shores.
And it's a very important part of our history.
Blacks had a huge impact in Miami, from its inception to its progress, from the pirates in Biscayne Bay to its progressive civil rights movements.
This is I-95 behind me. I-95 was put in to go directly through Overtown. It divided Overtown into east and west. Overtown went from some 40,000 people down to about 12 or 15,000 people in less than a decade. This overpass behind me is just one of the evidences of how the interstate was built to ride over the community, so that if you didn't really want to see black people, all you had to do was not look down.
Overtown's population in 1960 was 34,000 plus people, and today it's about 9,500. The expressway is probably the major villain there.
Based off of the book, Black Miami in the 20th Century by Dr. Marvin Dunn, The Black Miami is a documentary that takes you deeper inside America's magic city than you've ever been before. And to know about the future, you must learn about the past.
But I think in order to appreciate the changes, both good and bad, you need to know what happened in the beginning. So I'd say study its origins.
Now, I've heard that they actually do plan on reconstructing Overtown. And you think that they might start to try to push people out of that area to rebuild it. How do you feel about that?
Well, the process is called gentrification. It's the removal of folks who live in old traditional neighborhoods out so that new folks, younger folks, can move in. And the properties are so expensive when they're redeveloped that the older population has to move. And that has happened to Overtown. Overtown, I guess, in the next 10 years will be mainly Hispanic.
Yeah.
You know, which is the movement of the whole county. So I'm very concerned about preserving those important pieces of Overtown history. Others are as well, and I think we'll see some of Overtown survive. But in another 20 years at the most of Overtown will be hardly recognizable.
What are some upcoming projects that you might have for the future?
Well, I'm starting another book. The book on anti-black violence is such a heavy book to write, and it ends with such tragedy that I wanted to start another book that would deal with the civil rights movement in Florida, which is a much more positive story and redemptive story. So I've begun researching the history of the civil rights movement here in Miami and across the state, and some of those wonderful stories that displaced the Willie James Howard tragedy and the Rosebud tragedy in my heart and in my mind makes space for the future. So my books normally take me about 10 years to do. Yeah. So by the time I'm 82, I should be finished with the history of the civil rights movement in Florida.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It has been such an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are watching The Casting Couch, and we will be right back.
It's a soul flow thing. Shot in beautiful Miami, The Casting Couch is the perfect backdrop. The Casting Couch is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. What makes The Casting Couch unique is that it's totally interactive. Social media driven. Tweet us and like us on Facebook at Casting Couch TV. You can also watch past and current episodes by logging on to thecastingcouchtv.com. Casting Couch TV, uncovering South Florida's hidden talent. In 2004, the Casting Couch was introduced as a live Sunday night event that showcased national and international talent. Although the show was geared towards individuals establishing a performing arts community, Casting Couch has evolved to be a show about hidden talent in South Florida. In 2012, the idea of the Casting Couch was revisited with vigor. Slightly tweaked, the Casting Couch TV show focused primarily on the entertainment industry as it pertained to South Florida. Shot in beautiful Miami, this show is designed to give hidden talent in South Florida exposure. Although the main premise is focused on entertainment, the show will discuss social issues that affect Miami society.
Welcome back. So before we wrap it up, is there any website or anything else that you would like to say to let people know about?
I would like to encourage people to go to healthinthehood.org and become involved in the wonderful work that we're doing, my daughter in particular, to continue our efforts to bring fresh food and fresh ideas to Overtown.
Awesome, great. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So on next week's show, we will be talking to South Florida's musician, John Sachs, and Big Brooklyn Red.
The most humbling show is one we did in downtown Miami. Okay. This is my first big show with the band, and maybe like 10 people showed up, and it was so humbling. But those 10 people had a good time. So, and then the next kind of pivotal show, we opened up for Frankie Beverly and Mays at American Airlines Arena.
That's amazing.
And it was amazing. I came from Section 118, walked in, the light was on me, and it was just amazing. So I guess, you know, those experiences just kind of help define the musician that I am, you know, with the different jazz influences that I have, and watching like a Kenny G show versus a Aretha Franklin show versus a lot of the old school people. You know, coming from Cincinnati, Ohio, I'm just used to old school. So they always tell you if you're gonna put on a show, you gotta look the part and you gotta play the part.
I was under a production and management agreement in New York when I moved down here, and I was under my government name at that point, and I did not want to owe them any money. So I needed to come up with a name, and I ended up going to a jam session at Jazzid, which was a new spot at the time, and I just moved down here. And a guitar player from a 70s funk group called Mandrill.
Yeah.
Right, so Tommy Trujillo was hanging out, and he basically discussed the name with me, and it's kind of, Red has always been something where you're kind of passing in a different way. Kind of, Rodney Rudnick was called Red Rodney because Charlie Parker wanted him to play trumpet on the Chitlin circuit, which was segregated at the time. So it kind of gives me entree wherever I want to go. And then I'm from Brooklyn, and my voice at least is big. I used to be a little bit bigger too, so Big Brooklyn Red was born. And he introduced me to these two Japanese girls. He's like, this is my friend, he's a great singer, his name's Big Brooklyn Red. I was like, yeah, that's me.
And then it just went from there.
It just went from there, it stuck.
Until then, rest up and Godspeed.